Hello world, welcome to the 218th climate change emergency protest. I'm having to do this on a local location because the wind has started to whip up at, 20 miles an hour, 25 miles an hour. It's 64 degrees here in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. It should be in the 30s. So that's how the whole winter's been going. We haven't had hardly any snow at all. So it's been pretty mild here, yet in Asia it's been colder than ever. So the reason behind that is you get these Rossby waves. Jet stream is weakened, and it's doing these sine curves throughout the whole planet. And you're either in a warm sector, cold sector, heavy rain sector, no rain sector, whatever. And I'm afraid here we're going to go into drought. So I had to get out of the wind, otherwise the microphone would not work at all. So hopefully this will go okay. I had a whole thing on the battlefield planned, and well, that sometimes you got to adapt to the situation at hand, especially in this era of climate change. So I'm calling this Willow Widows, and it is about the Willow project in Alaska that's going to be authorized through the Biden administration. And, you wonder why I get on the Biden administration and the Democrats. It's because you're better than this. I don't expect a whole lot out of the Republicans. They're very dogmatic in their perception of climate change, and they're a lost cause right now, even though what's coming up I'm going to point out to you why it's totally bizarre for them to have this dogmatic approach to climate change, because they're going to suffer immensely coming up, the whole area that is heavily Republican of the United States. So hang in here with me. If you're a Democrat, don't bail. If you're a Republican, don't bail. If you're a human being, don't bail. If you're somewhere else in the world, thank God, don't bail on me. I'll try to get my point across. So this project, the Willow project that's coming up, it's going to be authorized by the Biden administration. They're acting like, oh no, we're still considering it. No, it's a done deal. It's with ConocoPhillips. It's in the North Slope of Alaska, where the caribou give birth to their babies in the spring. Millions of birds are there. The animals rely on it. It's a pristine area. It's untouched. It's the largest area of the federal government that the federal government has. It's in the Federal Oil Reserve area. Of course, that's news to the caribou and the people of Earth. It's the North Slope of Alaska, as I said, and check it out. So it shouldn't be touched. It should never be touched. And this era of doing new drilling for oil and gas and coal mining, in light of this existential threat that we're all going to die if we don't. Joe Biden keeps calling it an existential threat. And that means you're in imminent danger of dying, okay? This isn't something you just toss around as a politician. You're in imminent danger of dying, okay? You, your children, your grandchildren. And this is what's coming our way. And this is, as Joe Biden said during his State of the Union speech, look at the numbers. It's all in the papers. It's all available. You can look it up yourself, everything that I say here. So he was saying that constantly during the speech. He also said, finish the job. Well, you can't finish the job if you're never starting the job concerning climate change. These mealy-mouthed starts and stops and doing one thing forward and two steps back, that's not finishing the job. That's being totally bizarre in your thought process, if not pure evil and greedy. So something is going on with our planet, and the politicians involved all around. They're drilling, they're coal mining more than ever in the last 10 years or so. And it's totally bizarre. And yeah, even more than Trump. Biden has authorized in the first 2 years of his office now that he's been in office, he's authorized 6,430 drilling permits on public lands, on federal land. He said he wasn't going to authorize any. He said that was going to stop. He's authorized 6,430 permits in the first 2 years of office. Trump authorized 6,172. So Biden's authorized more than 300 more than Trump did, and Trump was a freaking nightmare as far as climate change goes. So, you're in your dogmatic situation, both parties, and you're all going to die. It's called an existential threat. And this is a harsh talk, and people need to start speaking this way to each other and going, keep this up. We're going to die. Keep going down that path. If you remember Custer at Little Bighorn, his Indian scouts said, don't go down there. You're going to die. You got 272 troops against 10,000 Indians that are really pissed at you. So Custer didn't listen. He went bullheaded ahead, and he got wiped out. Okay, General Custer, 1876. Check it out. It's worth watching or looking into. General Lee over here at Pickett's Charge, He didn't listen to the lesson of Fredericksburg, where the North tried to attack a defensive position in Fredericksburg, Maryland, or Fredericksburg, Virginia, and they attacked uphill into a wall situation, and they lost thousands of guys because of it. Well, the same thing happened here at Pickett's Charge, where his troops walked across 1 mile of open land, or 3/4 of a mile of open land, attacked a defensive position, which they had no hope of breaking through, and not enough reinforcements to hold the position, even if they did take the position. So this is stupid stuff. This is stupid stuff Custer did, stupid stuff that Lee did, stupid stuff the Union did during the Civil War, and this example of the Willow Project is really stupid effing stuff. Okay, this needs to be called out by both parties. If you're sitting around watching the Super Bowl, worried about your Beyonce tickets, worried about a basketball game or something like that, get your head out of your ass. This situation that's going on is an existential threat. We're all going to die if we don't get this thing straightened out. Someone's going to die, and then the whole planet's going to die. There's going to be no life left on Earth. The final episode of it all is when the oceans die. Hydrogen sulfide comes out of the oceans and wipes out every mammal on the planet because they can't handle hydrogen sulfide. Some lizards can, and it's making me wonder if the politicians aren't lizards at this point. So anyways, this Willow Project is the biggest on federal land, as I said. There are going to be they project 600 million barrels of oil being produced, 600 million over 30 years. I did the numbers, and they're saying 180,000 per day. You're talking 1 to 2 billion barrels of oil, not 600 million. 1 to 2 billion barrels of oil is going to come out of this project. They said they're preferring that the Conoco oil only uses 3 of the 5 sites. Preferring, okay, that means you can or can't dig down there. I'd prefer you don't do it. They're going to do it. They're going to use all 5 sites, and those 5 sites will have 250 fracking and oil wells on them. Okay, this is being authorized by the Biden administration. You can call them up and tell them not to do it. Good luck. 250 oil and fracking wells. In addition to that, when you drill or frack, you get methane gas with it as well. My assumption is, since they're not talking about containing that methane gas, they're going to try to burn it off. And what that does is puts CO2, carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, but at least it's not methane. But it's still carbon dioxide when you burn something. It also causes air pollution in the areas. So the Inuits that live there, the Native Americans that live there, are going to be suffering immensely. But who cares? It's their land, and so what? They die, right? So in addition to the 180,000 barrels a day it's going to produce, it's 100 miles plus of pipeline has to be laid. Gravel roads have to be laid, and the question comes to be, where are you going to get the gravel? Well, that requires more mining as well, so more destruction of the environment. It's over 5 sites, as I said. 3 are preferred. At least 1 airstrip. They got to fly stuff in, let alone bring it into harbors or wherever, bring it across land. So this is equal to supposedly 76 coal-fired plants. This is equal to 76 coal plants coming online. A death sentence for us all. This is along Alaska's North Slope, as I said. That's the calving area for the caribou when they're their babies. Nesting area for birds. It's a wildlife sanctuary. It's the most pristine, untouched territory of all the federal lands. It's untouched. There's nothing there. But it's the federal oil reserve land. So they're blaming the war in Ukraine for this whole thing. And if you look into your history as to why this Ukrainian thing erupted to begin with, not that Putin's right, because he's a horrible person doing what he's doing, but the provocation involved all the way back to the Obama-Biden administration can be seen in that allowing the Warsaw Pact nations to join NATO, which caused the paranoia of Russia to continue and continue and continue. So Russia is freaked out by everything that's going on, just like we would be freaked out here in this country if China allowed Canada and Mexico to join with them, as opposed to just staying independent and free. Okay, so that's enough of that. Also, with the Ukrainian situation, have you heard the word diplomacy at all? Both parties, Republicans and Democrats, are being warmongerish in this situation. And they're both rah, 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 all about Zelensky and Ukraine. Yeah, justifiably so at this point. But no one's mentioning the idea of, hey, how about negotiation, talk it out? Why are we just choosing to go down to war? Now we're shipping over tanks. It's just going to escalate more and more. And what do you think happens when two nuclear powers are faced off against each other? Sooner or later, there's going to be one general that's going to loose a cannon or a nuclear weapon, even tactical, and cause a situation. Meanwhile, the Chinese are sitting by with their nuclear weapons, wondering what to do, and they're just biding their time as to what's going on. But you think everything's just pleasant and going to keep going along, Beyonce and the Super Bowl and things like that. It's okay. The Arctic is warming 4 to 6 times faster than the rest of the planet. So in other words, the permafrost is being profoundly affected. It is thawing quickly. And within the permafrost, so what? Who cares about that, right? Well, within the permafrost is methane, nitrous oxide, and carbon dioxide, amongst other chemicals that are greenhouse gases, and severe greenhouse gases at that. Also in the Arctic, you have methane hydrates trapped in the Arctic oceans, the shallow seas. You start heating up the Arctic even more, eventually the birds will come home to roost, and you're going to start seeing all sorts of effects that we're seeing already now happening, and things are going to spin out of control. We're going to hit this AR5 projection, and we're going to blow past that to AR7 or 8.5 that the United Nations have, and I'll tell you about that in 1 second here. So during the State of the Union address, Biden spent 1 minute and 35 seconds. I factored out the applause and things like that. So 1 minute and 35 seconds was spent on climate change in his speech out of 62-minute speech. Okay, he said, finish the job, and I say, how about starting the job? But he called it an existential threat, climate change. Again, if it's existential, you're going to spend more than 1 minute and 35 seconds talking about it, which is, what, 2%? Of the speech versus the rest of the speech. It's insane as to how little time is being devoted on climate change when it's such an existential threat. Even the Pentagon has determined that climate change is the biggest threat to security of the United States. Are you understanding that? It's the biggest threat, other than nuclear weapons and things like that. It's the biggest threat because many spin-offs happen as a result of climate change, which I've spoken about before. So the infrastructure bill that Biden was talking about during his speech is $37 billion a year over 10 years, basically. The military budget, for example, that was $37 billion a year. The military budget and the discretionary budget is $875 billion a year. So $875 billion versus $37 billion for climate change. That is 4% is spent on climate change compared to the military budget. They're not taken seriously. Even the military is not taken seriously and going, hey, you need to devote more of the money towards climate change because saving that saves our job as with the military. If things spin out of control, government unrest, governments collapse, you're going to have a situation that totally erupt. And you know what? Think about it. There are 7, 10, 11 countries that have nuclear weapons now. What possibly could go wrong? So the discretionary budget, again, is $875 billion for the military, $37 billion for climate change. So that's insane. And an additional with that, 7% in this country is spent on the Veterans Administration. So you're looking at 72 to 80% of the discretionary budget of this country is just strictly military. And of course, we're out of money. We don't have any money available for anything because you're spending it all in the military. So finish the job. How about starting the job? So that was that with that. Now, the United Nations has put up a chart. It's the AR5 chart. Means nothing. But it's based on 2 degrees Celsius rise to as much as 2.5 degrees Celsius rise in temperature, which we're going to hit, blow past, and keep going. But they say it's going to represent 10 to 20 inches of sea level rise over that period of time. That is a joke. When you get to that point of temperature, you're going to have all sorts of feedback loops and happen, and you're looking at mega feet of sea level rise. And that, again, is going to cause mega government collapse. Entire nations will be on the move like Bangladesh. People can't stay there. All the island nations of the world will be underwater. These are things you need to think about, that it's not just a little thing happening because it affects you wherever you are. Central America, people are going to be bailing out of that. And I saw a map, and these are the projections of people, of places. This is the AR5 chart, not even the AR 8.5 chart, which is more realistic, but still under predicting. They're saying that that's a temperature rise of 2.8 degrees Celsius rise. I'm saying we're going to go past that to 5 degrees Celsius, 10 degrees, 15 degrees Celsius, because with the feedback loops, things just spin more and more out of control. So these areas are going to be uninhabitable at 8.5 degree at 8.5, sorry, the AR5 chart, which is 2.5 to 2 degrees Celsius. So 2 degrees Celsius to 2.5 degrees Celsius. These places become uninhabitable. That's all the Amazon basin, huge. Brazil, all those places down there. Argentina, uninhabitable, parts of it. Somalia, Ethiopia, South Africa, Sub-Saharan Africa, India, Pakistan. These places are uninhabitable, okay, when this starts happening. Most of China, Cambodia, Thailand, Bangladesh, Indonesia, places that are uninhabitable, okay, stay with me here. Northern and southern Australia, Madagascar, the Saudi Arabian Peninsula, Spain, Greece, southern Italy, North Africa, uninhabitable, Mexico, Central America. So where are these people going to go when it's uninhabitable? They're going to come here or die, or go somewhere else and die, you know, or be kept at their borders and not allowed out of their country. I don't know. So now I'm getting on Biden's case. Now I'm going to get on a Republican's case because they're so dogmatic in denying climate change. It's just insane. Based on this chart, okay, and this is what's coming. This is not something that's just like, oh, this is what could happen. This is what's going to happen, okay? And not getting on climate change makes it worse and worse and worse. Okay, so this is Republican territories that are going down. The entire South, from Texas to North Carolina, down to South Carolina, back to Texas. I mean, that whole area, it's a Republican stronghold, will be uninhabitable. Do you understand this? The South of the United States is going to be uninhabitable, okay? Say it again. The South is going to be uninhabitable. The Imperial Valley of California, uninhabitable, and these are just some of the places. For example, they're not predicting Portland, Oregon, and 4 years ago, I think it was, they had temperatures of 118 degrees. This chart doesn't even begin to cover weird things. Here is supposed to be several days or several weeks at a time above 100 degrees. Now, when that starts happening, the grid goes down, there's no electricity. How are people going to survive when the nighttime temperatures are above 90 or whatever? You get the wet bulb effect, you can't cool down, people die. Unless you can lay in a pool of water that stays cool, and the pool of water doesn't stay cool because it too gets up to room temperature or air temperature, which will be 90 some degrees. So the massive amount of deaths that are coming is unfathomable. Everyone's talking about the earthquake in Turkey. Horrible. 20,000 people are going to be declared dead eventually, at least. We're talking people. We're talking billions of people, not only on the move, but dead. Okay, this is called an existential threat. Billions of people, not 20,000, not even 150,000 that they had in the giant tsunami back in Thailand and all many years ago when when they had an earthquake there and it caused a huge tsunami throughout Indonesia, Thailand, all that. Okay, this is an existential threat, meaning all life on Earth is in jeopardy. We're going to start seeing these massive changes, and we're seeing it now. I shouldn't be able to stand out here in just a coat and a t-shirt. Okay, it is 64, 65 degrees right now, Fahrenheit. So both parties in the United States especially, and your parties, whatever country you're in, need to get out of this dogma. It is not okay to drill new sites. It is not okay to do new coal mines. It is not okay to frack new sites. Okay, methane is natural gas. Understand that. Turn on your gas stove, you're contributing to the whole problem. Our electricity right now is generated through coal and oil for the most part in the United States. They need to get off this immediately, okay, and switch over. This whole thing is not being treated like a war. Everything that's going to happen is bigger than all the wars that have ever happened in the history of humanity combined. Okay, all the wars, think about it, all the destruction, everything that's ever happened. This is bigger than all of them combined. Okay, this is what's called an existential threat. Okay, so my statement is get out of your dogma, stop doing stupid stuff. Okay, this Willow project is not needed. Okay, this is just bringing more oil online, which is going to kill us even more. I don't know how these politicians can live with themselves standing in front of the world's population going, this is an existential threat. Oh, by the way, we're going to authorize a project that's going to kill us with an existential threat even more and more quickly. So no drilling, no more drilling, just stop oil. You know, you might not like their tactics, but they are correct. And Greta Thunberg is also correct. No more drilling. There's no need for it. We need to move on, get to renewables. And the only way to do that is to stop doing what you're doing. If you're an alcoholic and you feel you have to drink, you need to stop. Okay, not just to slow down. You need to get treatment and get stopped immediately. Otherwise, your liver's compromised. Okay. So stop doing stupid stuff. Get out of your dogma, both parties. The entire South is going to be uninhabitable. That's all the Republicans. That's their whole base right there. So if you're worried about winning the next election when everyone's dying, whenever that happens, your head's wrong. Okay, your head's stuck up something, and you need to pull it out and start looking at your kids and grandkids, and also your husband and your wife, and your brothers and your sisters, and go, you know what? We're going to die if we keep on this path. And the way things are spinning out of control, this is the awakening year. I've been saying this for the last couple years. 2023 is the year we all awaken, but you can't wake someone up who refuses to wake up. And you can't, that's just the way it is. I mean, we just got to wake everyone up. And, the conversations still aren't happening with my friends and family. I don't know why. I mean, all this stuff's happening. Nobody's asking anything. So I hope you get to it. I hope you start having these conversations. You got to have these hard conversations and start getting in front of your politicians' headquarters. And I don't mean the opposing politicians. I mean your own party's politicians, and force them to change. Democrats, you're better than this in this country. Republicans, you got to get up to speed and start listening to whatever program it is that's telling you that nothing's happening. It's happening everywhere. It's happening everywhere, everything, all at once. I'll catch you next week. That'll be number 219, and that'll be on February 17th, I think. Okay? Catch you then. See ya. Start speaking harshly to each other and telling the truth. See ya.